So, how many of you like working and dealing with people? Raise your hand. Come on, Cliff. I know you like working with people. And how many of you actually like also working with process? Something like this, maybe a list of things that have to get done, things to make your life better. That's most of you. And whenever it gets to, now how about this? I found a problem inside this process and I get to fix it. I get to make it better. Who likes to do that? I mean, that's like problem solving. That's cool stuff. Okay, so now I need 2 volunteers. Who wants to come up and help? This is painless, kind of. So I need 2 volunteers. Come on. Come on up. Come on over. Come on up. A round of applause for our volunteers. They'll need it more later. Okay. Okay, and so what's your name?
Kim.
Kim?
Ryan.
And Ryan. So Kim and Ryan, they work for me. I'm the presenter. I can make myself the boss. It's kind of a cool thing. You know, I call the rules. Kim, she's a manager. And she's one of the people who report to me, and she's managing people. Ryan, he does the work. He's one of those individual contributors out there. Very valuable person. Kim, I've been meaning to talk to you about Ryan's work.
Okay.
It's really not up to snuff. Okay, and I need you to talk to him because if he keeps making mistakes, I just don't know what we're going to do. Okay, so can you do me a favor and can you please talk to him about that and get him to straighten out? That's good. That's good. That's good. That's all I need. How many of you like doing that? Raise your hand. Oh, not very many. So let me understand. You like working with people. You like working with process. You like fixing process. But you don't like Ryan? You don't want to help him out? He could lose his job if he keeps doing this, and you don't want to help him out. What's the problem? Well, this is the problem. We don't like this bit of having to be confrontational and go to correct people. It's much easier to go work with a process. And that's all I needed from you two. I needed to stage things up so people would understand what we're trying to do, because we want to look at people and process, and we want to figure out how we can visualize, just like I did right here, how that works so we can get people to understand, visualize, get a kind of that visceral feeling of what's going on. So today what we're going to do is we're going to act out a project. How do you act out a project? Well, guess what? All of those of you who decided you'd sit on the fringes and back in the corners, you're going to be part of this presentation. You are going to be active. I brought ropes. 2. Okay. Big elastic rubber bands. Blindfolds if we need them. Because I think that's most of what we have to describe how a project actually works. Just
That's like all our projects.
So let's start. Let's get this going. As I said, you're all going to be involved, so get ready. What do I need to run a project?
People.
You need people, you need problem, you need what else? What? Money. Well, more basic than that. Don't I need a project? Yeah, I need a project, right? Some sort of concept. Who wants to volunteer to be the project? It's the easiest thing to volunteer for. Okay? Mr. Payne, come on up and you can be a project. What else do I need? You need a sponsor. Even before I get a sponsor, what do I need? You got some sort of an idea where I'm going. Don't I need a goal? Okay, who wants to be a goal? Come on. Come on up. Okay, you'll help me out there. And then if I'm going to execute a project and get it to the goal, what do I need to get that done? I need there's probably a couple in the room. A project manager. Whew, yeah, boy, that was a tough one. Okay. Who wants to volunteer to be a project manager? Do any of you? Come on up. See, we have these great name tags, so you actually will understand who you are. If you forget who you are, you can actually look down and figure it out. We don't get those on normal projects. Okay, now if I'm going to represent a project, how am I going to do it with these three folks? Any ideas? Oh, this is just way too much in the morning. Goal, come here. We have a goal that we have to get to, right? So we're going to put the goal down here somewhere. Just stand there. Okay? Now I got a project and a project manager. How are they related? Are they far apart or are they close together? They're close together? We have a malfunctioning project. Okay. So what would you have to do to keep the project under control? You have to be tightly bound to it, right? Okay, why don't you come over here?
You couldn't have found somebody shorter?
This is volunteer stuff.
This is easier to control.
Yeah. You know, I think what you should do is you should lock arms like that. Yeah, because that way the project can't get away. You're in control of that project. We all know it, right? We visualize that. Now, if you're going to execute the project, execute the project. If you're going to run the project, how are you going to do that?
Probably alongside with.
Yeah, but you're going to take it to the goal, right? So let's do that.
All right.
Now look at that. I've been in this round table I don't know how many months, and you guys whine and moan and complain about how hard it is to run a project. I just got a project to completion. It took less than 30 seconds. What's the problem? Why can't you do it? What obstacles? Come on back up here. Goal, you can stay there for right now, because I think, Project, you come up here too. Project, you better behave. If I ever get your review done, I'll have another one to do before too long, so you need to behave. The project works for me, unfortunately. Fortunately. Okay, so obstacles. What kind of obstacles? What? Change in scope? Are you volunteering to be scope creep? Okay, come on.
I think Don was earlier.
Don was doing his own thing there for a while. What else? Anything else get in our way of running a project?
Competing projects.
Competing projects. Does that mean you're volunteering to be a competing project? Okay.
Oh, scope creep. Welcome. Yeah. I've been waiting for you for so long.
So she'll get you a tag in just a second, Mr. Competing Project. What else? Anything else? I'm sorry? Changing cost. Okay, well that's kind of with scope creep, but come on up. See? Love the way people volunteer. That's why everybody's quiet. Oh, good. It's gonna be. But you know what? Most of you are going to be on your feet before too long.
Great. More money. Welcome aboard.
I didn't hear more money. I heard more cost. Is there anything else that gets in your way?
Resource constraints?
Resource constraints. Are you volunteering to be a resource constraint? Okay, come on. What about risks? I haven't heard anybody say anything about risk. Is there any risk in a project? Were you? Okay. Can you volunteer to be a risk? Is there just one risk in a project?
Not usually.
Oh, we got some other risks. Let's get a couple of people up here to be risks. Okay? And Savannah, I'll get you a little tag to make sure. Are all risks known about when we start the project? Oh, so there's some risks that are kind of lurking out there somewhere. Okay? So can I have an unanticipated risk volunteer? Okay, come on up. Hey, Savannah, if you could put on the risk tag, unanticipated risk.
I'm an auditor, so I'm just about.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Anything else?
Sponsors.
Sponsor, you need a project sponsor. Greg, thank you very much for volunteering to be a project sponsor. Yeah, okay. So
finally I meet you. The budget's cut.
Okay, Savannah, I'll get you a tag there. So is that enough to get going here yet? Well, okay, let's talk about some of the relationships. Obviously, the project and the project manager are probably still down here because they can't get there. Where am I going to put scope creep? How does scope creep work when it's working on a project? Somewhere along the way. So we want you somewhere out in here. And then how do they work on the project? Do they like pull or push on the project? They slow it down. Push it a little bit off to the side, maybe. Okay, so when the project comes through, yeah, you know I like her.
Yeah, I need a helmet.
I pay your insurance, don't worry. Change in cost. You're probably down here with her, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think we'll put you on the other side. No, let's put you on the same side as her, maybe. What do you want to do? One side or the other? Any ideas? Opposing each other. Okay, so then you come back over here. Okay, you guys got to help. So, oh, competing projects. Where are we going to put the competing project? In the middle?
Yeah.
Well, when I have a competing project, do I face it, or is that competing project kind of off to the side and pull anything off? Yeah. Okay. Come here. I promised you I'd use this. So, hold on to that.
I can do that.
Yeah. Because a competing project is probably going to end up pulling this project away or resources away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to be over there. Hold that for a little bit for me until we figure out where it goes. But he's going to have to, because he's going to be off the side. He's going to be pulling the thing out of whack, right? Yeah. Unanticipated risk. We already talked about unanticipated risk. Where do you think unanticipated risk is at?
Way over there. Everywhere.
Lurking over here somewhere? Okay. You can lurk, right? Yeah. And then you sneak in when no one's looking.
That's right. I'm good at that.
Okay, good.
Oh, great.
Resource constraints. Oh, a constraint. What's a constraint? I think a constraint gets a rope too, right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're going to have a rope. Now, if a resource constraint is going to be, boy, I put this together really well. A resource constraint, I think my granddaughter helped me with this. A resource constraint is going to actually be pulling on the project manager, wouldn't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. So,
Oh, boy.
yeah. So you could stand back here and you can keep him from doing what he's doing because you're a resource constraint. You're a constraint. So you just hold that.
Perfect.
Okay? And whenever you want to pull on it, you do that. When we start the project. We haven't got to start. We're staffing the project at this point. And then we got 2 risks. What are the risks? The known risks.
In the middle.
They're along the way, yeah.
Yeah, they're right smack here in the center. So wherever you want to position yourself, because some of them come early, some of them come a little bit later. Now we got all this negative stuff. Where's the positive stuff? The project manager doesn't have a team yet. Do we have any developers, or we'll assume it's an IT project? No, the resource constraints are somewhere back there, okay? Okay, so who wants to be a development team? We got to have some developers in here, or architects or something. Come on. You guys aren't getting out of this. Thank you, Pradeep. Okay, so why don't you move forward just a little bit here? Yes, it gets dangerous. Okay, so with the team, how does the team relate to the project manager? Pretty close?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you guys come back around and stand behind the project manager here, because we don't want you to get bloody. You go underneath the rope here or something. Okay, and put your hand on his shoulder, just like that, right? Support him. Anybody else we're missing? So that's some positive things. Anybody else we're missing in here? The sponsor's over there. Stakeholders? Where would the stakeholders be?
Can't be found anywhere.
Come on up. Well, you'll be a stakeholder and we'll figure out where we're going to put you. Okay, now what's really missing here, it's just amazing. You guys haven't said it. I mean, the biggest help of all. Where's executive management? What's the laughter for? Who wants to volunteer and be executive management? That's a prestigious position. Okay. So come on over, get your badge.
They could be in like a different room, don't they?
Okay.
The door locked.
Where are we going to put executive management?
As far away as possible.
As far away as possible? Well, I didn't say what should they be doing. We'll get to that later. Where are they? They're as far away as possible. I heard in the other room. He'll miss out on a lot of the presentation.
There's a restroom right over there.
So executive management, come here. Let's go over on this side because I don't like that wall over there. No, I want. So is this a fairly good representation for where executive management would be then?
Where's my desk?
Is that okay? Somebody's saying further back, further back.
Turn the other way.
Yeah. No, just a second.
Okay.
No. This is too dangerous for you. What if executive management was here? Hey, project manager, can you come here? Bring your constraints along with you. So I heard you had a problem with your project?
Yeah, right here.
You guys ever had this experience with executive management? It's hard with the guy this tall.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, had it been somebody else, I'm almost his height at this point. Or maybe when you talk to executive management, is a little more like this. So you have a problem, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Hope to take care of it.
You could be on the phone also.
Yeah, but I left my phone over there. I could talk to this. Yeah, so it's a little dangerous having him stand on a stool the whole time, but boy, some executive management kind of gets up on that pedestal, right? Kind of hard to communicate with. Thanks. Let's go back over here, you and your constraints. He's got baggage, you know. He ought to go work for the airport. Okay, so competing projects. The project has already tied the rope around him. Does competing projects, does that pull on the project or does it pull on the resources? Resources. Yeah, so can you undo that, please? Because I'm not about ready to untie that from you. It won't look good. Okay, so what I'm going to have is I'm going to have you hold on to this one, put this behind, and then Pradeep, you hold on to that too, because competing projects is going to start pulling on the project, the resources, right? And what are you doing anyway? I mean,
We're getting ready to play golf.
Oh. Excuse me. Okay. Let me see. Do we have? Oh, we have stakeholders. Where are the stakeholders at? At the end of the goal. They're down by the goal. Come on, stakeholder. Come on down by the goal. I almost forgot about you. They're just hanging off to the side. Okay. So are we ready to run our project? Now, last one only took 30 seconds to run. Okay. So project manager, you gotta get your yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Make sure.
Where's my project?
You're not in control of your project, project manager.
My goodness.
Okay. Now, okay, project manager. Let's see if you can execute this project. You all know what you're supposed to do, so execute the project. Let's get going. Well, come on. Hey, what? Okay, stop. This project's red. It's in trouble. Okay, we have a failed project on our hands. We need to do something different. This is just not good. This is not good at all. Okay, let's recoil here. Let's take the ropes off. Yeah, I'll help you out here because you didn't know you were getting into this morning, did you? Yeah, you should have had that second cup of coffee, maybe the third. Okay, everybody sit down. Let's talk about this for a minute. Okay, project sponsor, you did a fabulous job. Executive sponsor, that was pretty awesome. Okay, let's give a round of applause to everybody. I agree. So is that more like what a project's like? You know what our poor executive sponsor was doing over there? He never knew anything was wrong, right? He's an executive sponsor. He's off, or executive management. He's off on the side. To him, that project looked just like this watermelon, right? Nice and green. This was a good watermelon project. The problem is, if he ever took a second to crack it open, he would have found out it was screaming red. And regardless of how he sliced it, it would have been a red project. People like our executive sponsor, or our sponsor here, probably should have been consulting with him just a little bit more. Maybe talking to the project manager. No offense. I mean, you did a good job. Okay. You did a really good job. I was pleased with you. We don't want watermelon projects. That was the point where I was supposed to take the meat cleaver and smash the pumpkin. Okay, so how do we get away from that? Well, what are the common failures? We just went through a whole bunch of them. Right? You guys saw the failures right here in front of you. Okay, I put them together a while back, and I put some stuff together, and I said, hey, team, process, and the customer. And when I looked at that, I found that the team, it was communication, which you could see that there wasn't really a lot of communication going on here. Management support, didn't see much of that. Right? So we're seeing that type of stuff in what we just acted out here. Okay? Attitude, the project obviously had an attitude. Skill set, and interrelationships. The interrelationships weren't very good either. From a process standpoint, change management and scope, we had that in here. We had documentation. We didn't actually say, hey, documentation's poor. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I haven't captured things. But I've seen that as a problem. Risk management, we weren't managing risk at all. Right? Risk was just in our way. And we couldn't get past it. That's where everything went to heck in a handbasket. And then from a customer standpoint, not understanding the product, we didn't understand the goal back there, what the goal was up to. And then some other things that I've seen in my past, such as poor project management knowledge, which would never happen here. Never in a million years. And then a difficult customer asking for too much. So for the most part, we hit most of these items. And whenever I look at these, I say, these are really all people. Even though I had them originally in team and process, everything at the top, that's all people. People cause those problems. But when I get down to process, those items that were in process, change management, scope creep, those are all people issues. They're people, let them happen. You can have a process, and if people don't follow a process, then it's really a people problem, not a process problem. The same with this last bit, and again from my past, is if you have poor product knowledge, lack of project management knowledge, this is knowledge. This is people doing certain things to projects. So I make the contention, I contend that it's all about people and not about process. So what is process in our lives? Why do we rely on it? We rely on it for a huge number of things. There's the process we do at work, and most of us think of process at work. So, there's the value stream mapping, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I pull the process out of my desk, and I follow it, and everything works right. But process is much bigger than that in our lives. How many of us use process already today? Raise your hand. Just getting here. Excuse me. Just getting here. Getting out of bed. You get out of bed, you do the exact same thing every single day. You walk to the kitchen, you walk to the bathroom, you go to your office, whatever it is. You can probably put little footprints on the floor and you go through the same footprints every single day. Excuse me. Allergies are great. Then you get in the car to go to work. You probably turn your turn signal on within 50 feet of the same spot every single day, unless you're coming in on Highway 26. Then you're going so slow, it's about 5 feet difference. You park in the same spot. How many people, when they go to work, say, he's in my spot? Jerk. But your name's not on the spot. That's because you and the people around you are doing exactly the same process. When you go to a different town, you go to drive in a different town, Ever notice those guys don't know how to drive? They're all saying the same thing about you. Because they all have their own process that they're working, and they, without ever talking to one another, they have the same thing they're doing going down the street. How many of you, when you drive to work or drive home, have gotten there and thought, I don't remember anything about what I just drove? Seems like a big issue. It's not. You're so used to it, it's running way down the lower parts of your brain, and the only thing you remember is when that jerk pulled out in front of you. So it was a nice, calm ride home. It's those ones you remember that you don't want to remember. Process, there's a third type of process, and that's what had Captain Sully put this plane in the drink in the Hudson River properly. Okay, that process is one that you have to practice and practice and practice and practice and try to commit to memory and to get things to work right. So he had all sorts of processes. He had an engine out process. He wasn't following that. The guy in the seat to the right of him was. If you read the transcripts, he was going through the restart the engines process. Okay, trying to get those things to work again, which of course they weren't going to do. What he was doing was something different. He was applying a completely different process. Do you guys know what process he applied here? What made this a safe landing? Say that again?
Was he a glider pilot?
He was a glider pilot. The FAA and the NTSB went back and took a look at all the successful no-power landings, and the successful no-power landings, all of the pilots were glider pilots, licensed glider pilots. So he was taking a whole bunch of process that he had learned about an airplane that weighs a couple hundred pounds, holds at the most 2 people, has no power, and he was applying that to an airplane that weighed a few thousand pounds, a few 100,000 pounds, had engines on it that developed a few tens of thousands of pounds of thrust, and held a couple hundred people, and he took that process and he applied it to the glider process to this actual plane. Safe landing. Cool. So those are the 3 types of process, and we swap those things out. There's another guy I talked to not too long ago. Somebody in the room was in the conversation. He said, oh, no, it's because he was an F-14 pilot. F-14 pilots, F-14s, they fly like a brick, and that's the only reason he was able to land this thing. He could be right. It's probably another thing that he pulled in there was knowledge from another system to be able to get this plane into the drink correctly. And I think very few people were hurt. 2, I think. So what is it about process that we like so much? I'm telling you it's all about people. What is it about process we like? Predictability. Repeatability. I'm sorry?
Assigning blame.
Assigning blame. We'll get to that in just a second. He's right on. Yes?
Processes don't have attitudes.
Processes don't have attitudes. Boy, the people who make them have attitudes, so it is possible. I'm not sure. So I heard, I do something with my batteries. We trust processes. They're repeatable. They're predictable. I heard 2 of those words exactly in here. But there's another thing that processes do. Okay? They stand between us and the people. So I can have people behind here, and when something goes wrong, I can blame not the person, I blame the process. Even if that person who was doing that step knew it was wrong. Has anybody ever heard someone say, well, yeah, I knew that wasn't going to work, but that's what the process says? Right? Because they don't get in trouble. We've engineered our lives so that we go and apply process to something so I don't have to deal with you. You know, you're a difficult guy. I don't want to deal with you and tell you anything is wrong with you.
Sorry.
Right? That's what happened to Ryan up here, is we just didn't want to deal with him. If I would have said, hey, the process has a problem, will you work with Ryan to fix that? Totally different reaction. Oh yeah, hey, no problem. You know, Ryan actually did all the mistakes, but I'm going to go fix the process. I'm going to change the process. This is where we get bureaucracy, right? Because the process has to add to the process, has to add to the process to account for absolutely every possible thing that goes wrong. So, where do we go from here? We're project managers. We rely on process. How many have your PMP? When you got your PMP, how many questions were on soft skills?
You had to put your name on it.
There, you had to put your name on it. I think Actually, somebody put the name on for me. Whenever I registered for doing the test, it actually showed up on there automatically, right? So we need to understand what it is about us that's slightly different. Well, let's take a look at that. If we're a functional manager, we have an organization chart. And for the most part, we're taking this functional position. We work with other peers, and we have people that report to us. And that's our world. We take care of those people. We may loan them out to other people. That's where we work with peers. But for the most part, we're working down. And we lead the people, supposedly lead the people underneath us. Maybe just manage them. However, if you're a project manager, you've got a completely different organization chart. Because you have these people that report to you, but then you have all of these people up here. Who are those? Project sponsors? Come on. Stakeholders? Executive management?
The people that care about whether you reach the goal or not.
The people who care, the stakeholders, yeah. So there's a little project going on just about 10 miles north of here. There's a river. I don't know if you ever noticed it. Some of you guys from Portland may not have figured out it's there yet. Goes to a really nice place called Washington. And that bridge was built in 1938. One of them was in 1938. The other one was in 1957. For some reason, they're a little concerned that if we have a big earthquake, that one of them might fall into the drink, or both of them might. So they're thinking about building a new bridge. How many people do you think they're going to employ? How many people do you think that the head project manager for building that bridge is going to have reporting to him or her? Thousands? 3,000? 4,000? Easily? Yeah. How about up here? How many stakeholders do you think there are? You got two airports, so you got the FAA coming at you twice. One of them has the military, so you got the military involved. You got the Coast Guard involved. You have everybody from, well, then you got Portland. You got, the 2 factions in Portland. The 20 factions in Portland. You got, the 5 factions in Vancouver or more. You got the anti-rail, the real, yes, I want to do it. I mean, all these people. You got Native Americans. You got environmentalists. Man, there's millions and millions. It's actually, you spend more time dealing up here than you do down here.
Which is why it's not started yet.
It depends on who you're talking about or who you're talking to, whether it started. Some people think it started 20 years ago. Okay. And they are digging holes. There's dirt moving, okay, for test pilings. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so we have this, as project managers, we have a significantly different role to play. And that role is not just managing, it's leading. Not just leading down, but leading up. We have to lead our leaders. That's really critical. So if we don't learn leadership skills, we're dead meat. We can't do our job. People that we lead do what we want them to do or don't do what we want them to do. They have the skills that we want or not. Okay? The problem is they don't like to follow process. They want to be imaginative. They want to get into some sort of passion. How many of you like just following the same rote process at work every day? Raise your hand. For some stuff, yes, it's easy, it's mindless. But most of us are passionate about something else. We want to be imaginative. Now, I said this line in this roundtable a year ago, and somebody in the room almost took me out to the parking lot and beat me up. Process stifles creativity. I'll say that again, and I mean it, and that is good. That is not bad. If we're doing month-end close, it's good. Imaginative accounting. Where did that get us? Social experiment. Fail. Didn't work. Okay? But when I get to innovation, I don't think we can put a process around innovation. It doesn't work. So I need to have some way of using process and figuring out when to bring in creativity and innovation to make things work. As the project manager, you're not managing things, you're leading things. So let's take a look at a video. Some of you have probably seen this before because you've seen other presentations I've done from a guy by the name of Dan Pink. And we get done with this, then we're going to try to take the principles that Mr. Pink talks about and we're going to rerun our script.
our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting. So I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students, and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges, and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay? So if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay? We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the other folks kind of in the middle. Okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test, they have these incentives, here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better their performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance. Now this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance? How can that possibly be? Now what's interesting about this is that these folks here who did this are all economists, 2 at MIT, 1 at the University of Chicago, 1 at Carnegie Mellon, okay, the top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better their performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill, it's the other way around. Which seems like this kind of, the idea that these rewards don't work that way seems vaguely left-wing and socialist, doesn't it? It's kind of this kind of weird socialist conspiracy. For those of you who have those conspiracy theories, I want to point out the notoriously left-wing socialist group that financed the research, the Federal Reserve Bank. So this is the mainstream of the mainstream coming to a conclusion that's quite surprising. It seems to defy the laws of behavioral physics. So this is strange. It's strange finding. So what do? They say, this is freaky. Let's go test it somewhere else. Maybe that $50 or $60 prize isn't sufficiently motivating for an MIT student, right? So let's go to a place where $50 is actually more significant relatively. Right? So let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary. Small performance, low performance, 2 weeks' salary. Medium performance, about a month's salary. High performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened, though, was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if-then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual, creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work. In fact, money is a motivator at work, but in a slightly strange way. If you don't pay people enough, they won't be motivated. What's curious about, there's another paradox here, which is that the best use of money as a motivator is to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. Pay people enough so that they're not thinking about money and they're thinking about the work. Now, once you do that, it turns out there are 3 factors that the science shows lead to better performance, not to mention personal satisfaction. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. Now, in many ways, traditional notions of management run afoul of that. Management is great if you want compliance, but if you want engagement, which is what we want in the workforce today as people are doing more complicated, sophisticated things, self-direction is better. Let me give you some examples of this, of almost radical forms of self-direction in the workplace that lead to good results. Let's start with this company right here, Atlassian, an Australian company. It's a software company, and they do something really cool. Once a quarter on a Thursday afternoon, they say to their developers, for the next 24 hours, you can work on anything you want. You can work on it the way you want. You can work on it with whomever you want. All we ask is that you show the results to the company at the end of those 24 hours in this fun kind of meeting, not a star chamber session, but this fun meeting with beer and cake and fun and other things like that. It turns out that that one day of pure, undiluted autonomy has led to a whole array of fixes for existing software, a whole array of ideas for new products that otherwise had never emerged. One day. Now, this is not an if-then incentive. This is not the sort of thing that I would have done 3 years ago before I knew this research. I would have said, you want people to be creative and innovative? Give them a frickin' innovation bonus. If you can do something cool, I'll give you $2,500. They're not doing this at all. They're essentially saying, you probably want to do something interesting. Let me just get out of your way. One day of autonomy produces things that had never emerged. Okay, let's talk about mastery. Mastery is our urge to get better at stuff. We like to get better at stuff. This is why people play musical instruments on the weekend. You got all these people who are acting in ways that seem irrational economically. They play musical instruments on weekends. Why? It's not going to get them a mate. It's not going to make them any money. Why are they doing it? Because it's fun, because you get better at it, and that's satisfying. Go back in time a little bit. I imagine this if I went to my first economics professor, a woman named Mary Alice Schulman. And I went to her in 1983 and said, Professor Schulman, can I talk to you after class for a moment? Yeah. I got this inkling. I got this idea for a business model. I just want to run it past you. Here's how it would work. You get a bunch of people around the world who are doing highly skilled work, but they're willing to do it for free and volunteer their time, 20, sometimes 30 hours a week. Okay, she's looking at you somewhat skeptically there. Oh, but I'm not done. And then what they create, they give it away rather than sell it. It's going to be huge. I mean, she truly would have thought I was insane. Okay, it seemed to fly in the face of so many things. But what do? You have Linux powering 1 out of 4 corporate servers in Fortune 500 companies, Apache powering more than the majority of web servers, Wikipedia. What's going on? Why are people doing this? Why are these people, many of whom are technically sophisticated, highly skilled people who have jobs? Okay? They have jobs. They're working at jobs for pay, doing sophisticated technological work. And yet, during their limited discretionary time, they do equally, if not more, technically sophisticated work, not for their employer, but for someone else for free. That's a strange economic behavior. Economists who look into it, why are they doing this? It's overwhelmingly clear. Challenge and mastery, along with making a contribution. That's it. What you see more and more is a rise of what you might call the purpose motive, is that more and more organizations want to have some kind of transcendent purpose, partly because it makes coming to work better, partly because that's the way to get better talent. And what we're seeing now is, in some ways, when the profit motive becomes unmoored from the purpose motive, bad things happen. Bad things ethically sometimes, but also bad things just like not good stuff, like crappy products, like lame services, like uninspiring places to work. That when the profit motive is paramount, or when it becomes completely unhitched from the purpose motive, it's just, people don't do great things. More and more organizations are realizing this and sort of disturbing the categories between what's profit and what's purpose. And I think that actually heralds something interesting. And I think that the organizations that are flourishing, whether they're profit, for profit, or somewhere in between, are animated by this purpose motive. Let me give you a couple of examples. Here's the founder of Skype. He says, our goal is to be disruptive, but in the cause of making the world a better place. Pretty good purpose. Here's Steve Jobs. I want to put a ding in the universe. All right? That's the kind of thing that might get you up in the morning and racing to go to work. So I think that we are purpose maximizers, not only profit maximizers. I think the science shows that we care about mastery very, very deeply. And the science shows that we want to be self-directed. And I think that the big takeaway here is that if we start treating people like people and not assuming that they're simply horses, slower, smaller, better-smelling horses, if we get past this kind of ideology of carrots and sticks and look at the science, I think we can actually build organizations and work lives that make us better off, but I also think they have the promise to make our world just a little bit better.
How do we apply that? How do we apply leadership principles to a project? Silence. You know what I'm going to do. Come on, let's get the project and the project manager and the goal back up here. We're going to do this all over again. You know your positions. So a goal, you might as well go on down to the end. Okay. Because those things where, yeah, the project and the goal are. So, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. How are we going to apply it? Where do we start?
Purpose. You need to know what the goal is.
Thank you. You got to start on the last one, purpose. What is it about our goal back here? How do we focus? How do we get people to look at the purpose and to engineer and design this project so we get to whatever that goal is? How do we make that happen? Come on, I need your ideas here. This is your part of the presentation. You have to keep the goal in sight.
It shouldn't all be about money. It should be a great purpose.
It should be a real purpose. It should be something that the project manager can champion, right? So do you believe in the goal?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, at least we got that far.
Does he understand the goal?
Do you understand him?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
Okay. Who's going to help you understand that goal?
The team.
The sponsor. Where's our sponsor? Oh, that's our sponsor. Make sure we get.
Well, I was playing golf with the other project manager.
Yeah. Okay, so the sponsor. If we're going to change this, we want to change this project so it runs better, does it make sense to have the project sponsor over here? Where should the project sponsor be?
Right in the middle of the project.
Or actually in front of the project manager to show where you're going.
And what's the connection between the project sponsor and the project?
They're tied.
Oh, they're tied. I love that word. I'm the longest of the two. That's it. We're out of the blindfold situation at this point. Oh, here, come on. Let's pull the... well, yeah, but I'm pulling you in a little bit. Oh, stop right there. Hey, that is kind of cool. Because had the project sponsor actually done that, he could have pulled the project goal in a little bit. Wouldn't that be neat if your project sponsor could pull the goal in? You get into trouble, you find out it's too hard to do. But also, the goal can't get away. The goal can still go laterally, right? He can go run through the chairs if he needs to and strangle 5 of you, but we'll stay away from that one. But that's a kind of a neat visualization, right? Because now I'm saying, hey, project sponsor, you have your role, and excuse me, project manager, but since you're the one who's doing this, you're the one who has to be coaching the project sponsor on how to do this, right? This project sponsor may be... How many of you have project sponsors that were actually project managers in the past? Not very many. How many project sponsors are there that kind of go, okay, who's going to be the project sponsor? And whoever draws the shortest straw gets to be the project sponsor? How many have seen that? That's big. So it's our job as project managers to actually coach the project sponsor on what they're supposed to do. That's leading up. Right? Think about the difference. You're all of a sudden telling him he's got to have this rope. He's got to keep control of that. He's got to keep it. Hey, wait a minute. It's moving away. Project sponsor, get it back in here. You're telling the project sponsor what to do. That's pretty cool. So what else? So at least we got the project sponsor isn't standing over here on the side anymore. What else can we do that's different? How do we get some risks up here? Well, come on. What you're going to say something? Well, you're actually a risk too, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, well, come on up, risk. And you're a risk too, right? So what are we going to do about these risks?
So they're known risks, right?
These are the 2 known risks, yeah.
Put the rope around them,
What, around their neck?
for starters.
Is there anything that we can do about these 2 risks? We've kind of taken purpose and kind of, I think we've done something about purpose. How can we take care of risk?
We can address it rather than just leave it sitting out there.
So how are we going to address it? I heard somebody say mitigation. Okay. Do we have some mitigation people out here? Who wants to volunteer to be a mitigator? Okay, come on up. We're going to have one mitigation person?
Oh, we got 2 risks. You probably need at least 2.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. You'll switch? Let's get another mitigation up here. Come on. I know it's early in the morning. There we go. I figure we get somebody. Okay? And so you're going to do what with these risks? Or these mitigations?
We're going to assign them to the risk, basically.
Okay? And what do you want them to do?
Get them out of there.
Push them to the side. That's your job, is to keep the aisleway clear.
Okay.
What else is there that we can do? We had other project resource constraints or project constraints over here, right? What can we do about that? Yes, sir.
Budget contingency.
Budget contingency. So you want some.
We have some.
Okay, who's my constraint? Does the resource, there was in there budget or cost? Yeah, you're Mr. Cost, you're our cost problem. Okay? Come on, where are we going to put the cost problem? Behind him? Next to the executive? Yeah, I'm open. This is your idea. I mean, I don't know the answer to this. You guys got to give me the answer. Next to the executive, next to the sponsor, behind the project. Well, we want to make it better. If we put him in the middle, he's going to be in our way. Right? We want to improve this. So where are we going to put him to improve this? This is future state.
Actually, the right place for the cost constraint to
Make the rope what?
3 feet too short.
See, I was actually going to give the project manager a credit card, okay, for this cost constraint, that he could use the credit card if he needed to, you see. That was going to be that's the battle that I would have here. It's a fake credit card. Be careful. You run those numbers, you'll get a call. This is how I test how honest my audience is. Okay? So, are we just going to have him standing here? Or?
Maybe put him between the project manager and the project sponsor.
Between the two? He's kind of in the way that way. You know, I kind of like the idea of the executive. Can I have the executive come back up here? Okay, because where are we going to put the executive? Closer. We didn't do much good over there. So what are we going to do with him? What are we going to do with you? First, we need to teach you to dress right. Yeah. What are we going to do with the executive management? Should be supporting. So, kind of behind, maybe. So, if you were stand behind, then what can the project manager do? What can the project manager do with the executive management if he's really close and right behind him?
Give the cost to communicate.
Yeah. So why don't you give the credit card to the guy over back there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so now he's got the credit card because he's going to take care of cost. We can never control cost completely. So he's got some elasticity in this one. There you go. Give him my credit card back. Not that I don't trust anybody here. Okay, so I mean, cost is going to be able to move a little bit, right? Reality. Things are going to, cost is going to move around, budgets are going to change. So there has to be some flexibility here, but the executive management has to be in control of that. That's that external thing. The project manager has too many other things to worry about. Okay, what else can we do? What do we have in the project? We had external project pulling us off. Where's the external project constraint that was out there pulling people off to the side? Excuse me. Okay, so competing projects. Where are we going to put competing projects? I'm sorry, what?
Next to executive, because they're going to help.
Help? You're coming back here. Come on back on the podium.
Their job.
So you're going to put the executives in between the project and the competing projects and say, that's your job to handle. That's not mine as the project manager. So what did the project manager? You're doing a good job of leading here because, man, you're telling him what to do. You've got the executive management. You're squirreling them away. Say, hey, get to work here. How many of you do that in your projects? I don't see many hands going up. I saw one, yeah, kind of. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You have to have the right kind of culture. Anything else going on that we need to change? Okay, project manager, get your project back under control. Go get him. Bring him over here. I'll talk to him later about this.
Scope creep.
Yeah. Where did scope creep go? We didn't get rid of scope creep. She's creeping. And then we had that unassumed, that other risk. Unidentified risk. Where did you get off to? Oh, you're over there. Come on. See, she's lurking. See, it was doing such a good job of lurking in the background. So scope creep, where are we going to put scope creep in?
Sponsor.
Scope creep goes with the sponsor?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to move the goal.
Well, if you move the goal, then you basically have gotten rid of some of the scope creep. You're doing negative scope creep. So you're going to be down here with the sponsor, and the sponsor is going to keep scope creep under control.
Yep, they need
Okay? You guys need to lock arms. Yeah. It's looking like a wedding, isn't it? And what about our unanticipated risk? What are we going to do about that? How can you bring it? How do I know that I don't even have a risk that's out there and I can bring it closer? That's kind of spooky. That makes me, it's creepy.
Well, so you want to give the sponsor another mitigation that he can send after the risk when she shows up?
Some contingency that somebody else is kind of lurking in the background. You want a lurking mitigation or lurking contingency. Who wants to be the lurking contingency? Come on. Come on, Samad. You can be the lurking. Everybody else is burned out. They don't like it. So what's our lurking contingency going to do about our lurking risk?
be looking out for it. It's gonna,
Yeah.
The hunter.
Probably standing right here waiting for instructions to go, right? Now our team, we don't have a project manager, don't have anybody to help him out. Where's the team? Let's go both the team back up here. Oh. Now I kind of did things a little different last time. I kind of predisposed you. I made sure that the two team members had their hands on the project manager's shoulder, right? Because I wanted them really tight. Not a lot of autonomy there, is there? What happens if they're not holding on? Then possibly when they get down here to the risks, if the risks get kind of out of control, they could run around the left end, right? Because if I don't have this big knot of things trying to get through this little itty-bitty hole, and they're somewhat autonomous, they can kind of get around. If I'm the project manager and I get my development and my QA ahead of all the risks, and I'm standing here battling the risks, then I can say, okay, they're not risks anymore. I can just go past them because my project went past them whenever I wasn't looking, right? So you're able to actually work with some of these risks if you keep these two autonomous from you, right? Close, you got to keep in touch, right? So now if we're a little more loose, we got executive management in control. You better make sure he stays in control. You better make sure that he stays in control, okay? And don't let him, when he walks forward, let slack in this rope. Okay? Okay? Now, try to execute the project. Let's see what happens. Okay? Hey, project manager, you got some resources that aren't doing very good. Hey, you better get the executive management in there to help. Okay? Hey, look at this. We're almost done with the project, and it's only like 45 seconds later. Congratulations. So my hope here in all this fun that we've had is that you've learned a couple of things. One is, actually the technique is kind of powerful of being able to actually model out what you're doing in a project and have people look at it and see it. If you're going to kick off a project, it might be a good idea to try to put that together and have the executives in the room and see how people think about the executives. If you need some help doing that, bring in somebody from the outside. They'll take the bullets, not you. Okay, because obviously that is a political issue, right? But I hopefully have gotten to a point where you understand something about leadership. Because in leadership, that project manager that was sitting here doesn't just lead his team and control his or her team. They also lead up and they take care of the stakeholders. They take care of the executive management and tell the sponsor what to do. Because the sponsor doesn't necessarily know what to do. The executive manager may not know what's even going on. And the minute you start lining things up and saying, hey, executive management, you need to take care of this problem. You need to take care of this problem. That's not mine. I can't do it. That's outside my scope. That's inner company type things. You need to come up with those type of items. Now, what are those for your specific project or organization you're working in? I can't tell you exactly. That's what you have to figure out. I can tell you that there's things that have to change. You have to figure out what that is. The biggest one is we as project managers have to change and become leaders. So we lead down, we lead our people by saying, what do you need from me? What's in your way and how can I help? If we're going to lead up, then we come back with, I need your help by putting people in a certain position. I need mentoring. I need help because I don't understand how to do this. And I need clarification on, for instance, the goal of the project. So in this one, we had that rope going squarely between the sponsor and the goal so that the sponsor helped continually clarify where we're going. So what I want you to do is think about that. I actually finished on time. So I thank you guys all for the help. You all have a watermelon slice on your chair. That's yours. Sit it on your desk. It's a reminder to you and to anybody who walks into your office, cubicle, whatever it is, that you will not be tolerant of watermelon projects. They're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you everything that goes on, and that's good. If they come in and they give you a watermelon project, you have two choices. You can pick up the squeeze ball, and you can take out your anger on the squeeze ball, or you can remember what we did here and give me a call, and I'll come in and help. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.